So we're supposed to be like in our little worlds, in our bubbles for a certain amount of time. And to the degree that we've had trauma, to the degree we've had parenting or in a culture where there's not really healthy mirroring of who we are, where we're not seen or understood or loved, to the degree that's the case, that rigidity, that holding on to separateness actually becomes more extreme. And all the behaviors that circle around it become more extreme because we have unmet needs. Again, that's trance reactivity. That's not our fault. So just to begin to do this examining of, okay, how do I get triggered? Whether some of us it'll be in a traumatic way where I go into trance and push others away or fight or whatever it is. And for some of us it's more subtle, but for all of us, it's not our fault. And if we can see that, we can begin to notice when it's happening and have more choice. Okay? So we'll look the different ways we get hooked, where we get caught in trance in a daily way and disconnect from bodhicitta in a way, in a very specific way in the brain. The mirror neurons are not activated when we're in that reactive trance. Does that make sense? That when we're in fight, flight, freeze, that circuitry is not energized. We've got less bodhicitta going on. Okay? All right, so what are the ways? One of the ways in the Buddhist way of languaging it is that we get attached and we start grasping after things. In other words, we're kind of leaning forward and we're trying to get something and make something better in our lives. There's a sense of something's missing and we're trying to get somebody's approval or affection. Or we're trying to get more money, or we're trying to get more power or advantage, kind of position ourselves in some way. Or maybe something beautiful that you want to possess, or something you want to consume. So in the moments when any of those are strong drivers, when there's a kind of ambition to be more successful that has a grasping to it, or chasing after a person's affections, whatever it is, our aperture narrows. We're not able to see others in a way that really has empathy, compassion, understanding, because the self-centeredness is stronger. We're in grasping mode. So we're living in a world that's torqued by our wants, and our perceptions are no longer open. We're not, that part of our brain that's designed to attune is not really operative. So then it goes into all sorts of self-justifications and just our own little reality. In The End Game, this is a cartoon, you have in one room 2 dogs are looking at a birthday cake that's ready for a party, and in the other room the kids are opening the presents. One dog saying to the other, "Sure, they'll be mad today, but how else will they remember this birthday 30 years from now?" Okay, so grasping. My examples are not always completely on target, but but we all have this stuff going on, so I figure why not have some fun with it, you know. The other side of the coin is aversion, which is when we're afraid of failure or afraid of loss, afraid of, there's a squeeze of something's wrong. And when we're living in that anxiety, the aperture narrows. When you're stressed and anxious, when you're with and another person's around, again, that part of the brain that's designed to attune is not activated. The heart is not open. It's particularly clear in those moments when we're speeding and have a sense of not enough time. And my favorite example of this comes from a very famous study many of you are familiar with, the Good Samaritan study at Princeton. And in this, the seminarians were given a practice sermon, and half were assigned the story of the Good Samaritan, and the other half were given a random Bible story. And the seminarians were supposed to go to another building and give the sermon and be evaluated on it. And the way the design was set up, on the way to that building, they passed a person in a doorway who was in very evident distress. So the question was, will the seminarians who had just studied the Good Samaritan story, will they stop and help the person in distress? And so what was determined, it was determined by how much they thought they had, how much time they had before they had to give their sermon. If they thought they only had a little time, they would race to give their sermon on the Good Samaritan, but not help this person. Because they thought they had a lot of time, they would stop. And to me, it feels very personally relevant. I am so aware of feeling, I can in the morning meditate and feel real open heart and spacious and feel the blessings of wanting to offer blessings to everybody. But if I hit a point in the day where I'm feeling squeezed by time and then somebody asks something from me, I might act nicely, but inside it's not like my heart is open and tender. That sense of there's not enough time shuts down our heart. How many of you have noticed that? Can I see? Yeah, okay. So these domains of stress, whether it's the grasping after or the aversion, and one of the biggest ones within aversion when we're stressed is judgment. It stops, it's closing the aperture. We're not there. And it's fear-based. You know, when we are hooked by fear, when we're in the trance of fear, we're living in that separate self that forgets our belonging. We forget what we most cherish, that sense of connectedness. I've shared with some of you that I'm about to do a course called the Awakening the Fearless Heart that really looks at this, at how we cut off from our own full potential when we get hooked by the trance of fear. It's an online course, and if it's something you're interested in, it's starting next month, and you can check my homepage for more information, tarabrach.com. Because the conditioning is so strong to go into trance and to cut off from who we can be, it takes a lot of intention to wake up during the day. It takes a lot of intention to recognize that we're caught in fight, flight, freeze, or caught in grasping, and then shift to simply attending and befriending. And in the Bodhisattva tradition, it's the Bodhisattva vow. It's that vow, may whatever's arising awaken this heart and mind, that actually cultivates a sense of that awakeness that can notice, oh, I'm in trance right now. Now, most of us, we have vows or strong intentions, but they're not necessarily dedicated to our full awakening. They land on something lesser than our full awakening. Jonathan, my husband, gave an example for himself a couple of days ago at his class that he's, has been one of the characteristics of our relationship for a long time, that before we met, he had a few vows. Okay, he vowed never to live in the suburbs. He vowed never to move anywhere where he didn't have a job. He vowed never to get married, and he vowed never to renovate. So, after he moved to live with me in Bethesda, where he didn't have a job, we got married, and then we decided to renovate a fixer-upper, which is our current home. Interestingly, that our marriage ceremony was based around a deeper vow than any of the vows that he pushed aside, which I'm glad he did. And as part of our wedding ceremony, we took that Bodhisattva vow, which again I want to repeat. And it's very simple and very, very powerful. And it's one of the reflections that guides me in my whole life. It says, regardless of what arises, whatever circumstances arise, in this case it was between you and me, it could be whether it's anger, whether it's judgment, whether I'm feeling judged, whether I'm feeling hurt, no matter what it is that comes up between us and more broadly in life, may that serve the awakening of compassion and wisdom. So that means we get in a fight and there's some part of us that's computing it like, okay, how might this serve our hearts waking up? Or one of us feels, really judgmental. Okay, how can my judgment now actually serve? If that vow is the background for our life, then it'll keep on waking us up from the trance so that we can move towards attend and befriend. Let's do a little reflection here so you can check this out, okay? Okay, just take a moment to close your eyes. You might bring to mind a relationship that's important to you, that also has the natural prickliness, the triggers. So a relationship where you want to keep on getting closer, and there's the natural arising of hurt or guilt or anger or insecurity or judgment or resentment. Could be with children, parents, friends, partner, family. And let your attention focus on a particular area where you get triggered. What's the area of triggering that feels most strong, most compelling, that catapults you into trance most easily? And let yourself connect with what's difficult about it. You wouldn't be triggered if it didn't go to some place in you that felt vulnerable. And now let yourself reflect on the Bodhisattva aspiration or vow. May these very circumstances, these feelings that are arising, may they serve the awakening of heart and mind, of compassion, of wisdom. May this serve bodhicitta. And let it be a sincere wish from your heart that what's going on might help to wake you up. And mentally whisper it one more time, please may this serve. May this in some way teach me, awaken my heart. So you really feel the sincerity of your own wish. Where it becomes more important to heal and connect and wake up than be right. You might put it into the form of an inquiry. How might this serve the awakening of bodhicitta, of my heart? And then taking a few breaths, nice full breaths, and opening your eyes when you're ready.